Hello, this is Valerie Aiello, and you're listening to ID Diary. Thanks for coming back to my office and hanging out. Okay, so I have decided that I am ready for adding a daily article or a daily worksheet, depending on what I can think of that day, to add to the podcast. So I've been podcasting daily since July 1st. It seemed like a really scary thing and an impossible thing to do a daily show. I'm attempting to do 15-minute shows, but if I go a little less, I'm not beating myself up over it. I'm not trying to do any tricks or any kind of growth tools, trying to make more listens and, all the YouTube tricks that people do to try to get more views and all that stuff. I'm not focusing on how many people I can get to listen to the podcast or watch the podcast, but I am focusing on speaking into the microphone, trying to bring something valuable every day. I'm kind of letting go of all pressure. The goal is just to incorporate a daily show into my workday and show up and have a conversation of some kind. Hopefully find people that want to have a conversation with me by either just listening to the show daily and maybe they get something out of it, or occasionally, whatever it ends up being. I thought that it could be a hard thing to record and edit and post daily, but it is not hard at all. It's actually easy. So now I'm adding the second element of what I want to do every day, which is to add an element to my day where I'm doing a daily blog, or something kind of unique to me is a daily worksheet that I'm putting up for sale on my digital store, which I've decided to use Gumroad. I think Gumroad's a really great online store platform, and there's something about it that I feel like I trust. I feel like it's a high quality place to be that is free. There are online software tools you can use like Shopify or, there's a million of them. But Gumroad has a way where you can sell digital download things and not have a monthly fee associated with it. They just get a cut per each sale if you actually make a sale. So I felt like that was really doable. It's not, I guess you would call this an experiment to see how it goes. So if I end up putting 365 worksheets up on a store using Gumroad, I'm not spending a bunch of money to keep that online and available for sale. You can go up a tier and pay for Gumroad for your store, and you probably get a few more extra tools, and I think they take less of a cut of each sale if you pay monthly memberships. So I probably will upgrade my Gumroad store and pay a little bit more when it's necessary, but I have the freedom that I don't have to do that until I know it's actually working for me. And I can leave it up there forever if it's just the free version works just fine. And the reason why I'm charging $1 is usually when I'm doing a worksheet inside the show, I'm telling you everything that's in the worksheet, so you don't really need to buy the worksheet. But if you feel like it was valuable and it seems like a good use of $1 to go ahead and download the worksheet and use it in a way that I have it laid out for you, then you can do that. And it's sort of like a thank you. I thank you for, getting something valuable out of a tiny podcast. So I've got the worksheets going, not every day. I have decided to use Medium to post blogs because I don't have to pay for a blog hosting. I don't have to hire a WordPress designer to give me a fancy blog because I don't necessarily want that at this time. And I don't know if I'm ever going to want that. But Medium seems like a valuable place to put blogs because it's free and I can post a blog a day if I want. But I get a cut of all the members that read a lot of Medium articles a day, and they pay the $5 a month fee to be able to do that. So I get a cut of that $5 of each Medium member that reads one of my articles. And if they read one or they read 200 articles on Medium, I either get their whole $5 because they only read one article, or I get a percentage of the 200 articles that they read during their $5 a month period. So I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but I have the potential to make money and have a blog, not have too much pressure to keep a blog up and running and to pay for hosting, just to do all the things that I feel like if Medium works well, then it's already done for me, and it's totally worth all the work that they've done to create the platform and to brand it and to get popular. And I think it's good to have some sense of a community, and I feel like it might not be a crazy amount of authority that you have a blog on Medium because anybody can do it. I do feel like there's something, it might not be the highest quality in the world, but it does seem cute and valuable, and the company seems like they're growing and they're trying to do something, and I think it's a good idea to test it out. So with Gumroad and the worksheets and then having a blog on Medium, those are both two ways to create content and possibly have some sort of a revenue stream. As tiny as it might be, there's the potential. And so that's what I really want. And then with the podcast, I'm using Anchor, and I have said that I want to turn ads on my podcast, and Anchor will match you with an advertiser that wants to advertise on your podcast, but I haven't been offered any advertisers, even though I've turned on ads. So I'm still trying to learn that process. However, while I'm learning how to create a valuable show and I'm learning how to talk into a microphone, there is that potential to make money with a podcast, even though it might take a few years. And as I'm learning and as I'm growing as a person and getting my speaking and my writing skills up and running, I do have at least the potential to make money with those three things. And I'm double posting the podcast using YouTube. I don't know how long it takes to turn on ads on YouTube, but I'm really not looking at YouTube as being a huge revenue source, at least for a very, very long time. I don't know if I'm good enough for that. We'll just see how it goes. I'm not sure. But the point is, I'm trying, I'm growing, I am getting it together. So I spent today writing an article and I've illustrated it. I'm guessing that it might be a 3-hour process if I want to do a daily article. We'll see how it goes. I don't know if I can achieve it, but I'm kind of upping my podcasting game, adding a written element to it. We'll see how that goes. It might be a 3-hour commitment a day, but it could be 5 because I do want to do an original illustration with each article. I'm not against stock photography and stock illustration, but because I can do illustration, it hurts my soul if I have to use stock images. And I want to do a custom illustration with each article that I write. So if I can pull that off one a day, we'll see. It sounds impossible, but a lot of things seem impossible. And once you get into it, it might not be. And I feel like the faster that I go, the easier it's going to be, and my writing skills will get better, and I can have my own personal stock bank of my own personal illustrations that I can feel proud of with each article that I'm posting, and I'm adding artwork. And overall, I have a bigger goal that I'm trying to achieve. But as of right now, we're just going slow, and I'm starting here. I have the show, starting with the writing element of my journey, which writing is my worst skill. I'm multi-hyphenated, so I can do a lot of different things. However, writing is just my weakest thing, my weakest skill in my toolbox. So I'm kind of scared, but also excited to just kind of dive in and start working on that. We'll see how it goes. I've recorded my article that I am posting on Medium in a kind of an audiobook format. So I'm going to tag on the audio version of the article I wrote today on the end of this podcast. You can tell me how awful it is or how boring it is, because I'm not so great at writing. I'm going to kind of do little audio book versions of my articles so that I feel like that can kind of help me just make sure that it kind of makes sense in some way. And I hear that's a good way to get your writing voice is to read your writing out loud. I've recorded the audio. Here it is. And let me know what you think. One tool that can save your business or effortlessly scale it is the pivot. Sometimes a new idea can take you to places you would never imagine yourself to be. Pivots can seem to pop out of nowhere and often be totally unrealistic. Then, like magic, they just happen to work out as a win-win solution beyond your wildest dreams. For example, I would consider the Twitter story a pivot story. Twitter was once called Odeo. When Odeo was trying to build itself into a profitable tech company, iPods were hot, a MP3 voice message was a fun idea, and your status on your Facebook seemed like kind of a big deal. At some point, Odeo CEO Evan Williams knew the writing was on the wall that Odeo concept as it was would not be a successful business idea. He had to make an executive decision, shut down Odeo or have all employees working on pivotal new ideas to try and save the company. Employee Jack Dorsey would come up with a new idea that was based on how important he thought Facebook and MySpace statuses were and group texting. Then, with the help and support of co-founder of Odeo, Noah Glass, Twitter was built. It was a completely different concept than the original Odeo concept. Pitch to investors. The early stages of Twitter was a little different from the final product that we know as the Twitter of today. But this is a great example of how new ideas and pivoting can change everything. There is some controversy about how the business side was handled with Odeo's investors, closing of the company, and the creation of Twitter as a new company, but that is another story. Ultimately, I would consider Twitter a new concept that came from employees of a company trying to create new ideas to save a failing business. Luckily, you don't have to wait to fail to benefit from a new product or service idea. A successful pivot is one of my favorite outcomes of a new idea brainstorming session. I realized the power of a weekly company-wide new idea meeting from my boss, Gwyneth. I worked at the company before she implemented the meeting, and instantly I could feel the creative energy and the magnetism it created for us as a group from the very first meeting. I saw the magic it generated as our product releases became more frequent and more successful. A weekly new idea meeting maintained an open and creative workplace that was consistently working to scale. Scaling up doesn't necessarily mean always coming out of left field, but just exploring a variety of different directions weekly and without judgment naturally facilitates expansion. Anything is possible when you are persistently conceptualizing new ideas and approaches of any business with a variety of minds. You can brainstorm and pivot ideas alone, with a group, or with an actual real customer. You can have new idea meetings daily, weekly, or monthly. There are no rules. The main thing is to implement this tool on a regular basis as a building block and/or an emergency crisis parachute to save a company from failure. Now, get out there and schedule a time for your new idea brainstorming session as soon as possible. All right, so that's the show for today. Thanks for being here, and I still don't know how to end the show, but I almost do. But for now, I'm just going to play the music.